Hey guys, new week, new video. Welcome back to the D2 Conference channel. This is the place where you find the interviews with the best artists from the community. This week I am honored to have Santi Sanchez of Tresde Architecture Visualization Studio in Ecuador. I remember at the very beginning of my career that I was learning a lot of stuff, especially about composition, using the tutorials of Santi. Santi has recently made a little bit of a business-related shift into educational. He has a very interesting story to share with us, so as always, enough of me blah blah blah. Enjoy this video. And we're on. Santi, thank you very much for taking the time to do this interview, man.
Thank you a lot. It is a truly honor,
No, it's all mine. People like you, were there in the beginning when I was inspired to go into this direction. You are the founder of Tresde. How do you pronounce it? Tresde?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Tresde, which is an ArchViz studio based in Ecuador, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And you've been there since the very beginning, since I can remember.
Actually, it was a long time because.
when did you start making renderings?
I start I don't know why, maybe 13 years ago when I was at the university. But of course I dropped it because I study industrial design. And after that, you just finish the uni, you have to get a job. I had the worst ever experience ever, and I say, okay, I'm not going to work for anyone, never. And that was that was the beginning. And I opened my office and I started to do, code drawings at the beginning, very, very basic stuff. And I started to find on Facebook a lot of information, beautiful image. At that moment, of course, V-Ray was one of the main rendering engines. Everybody was talking about V-Ray, and I started this. I started to do stuff, CG stuff. But after a while, I realized that I have to improve. There are a lot of information on the web. You can find a lot of tutorials on YouTube channels, but for some reason, you're going to get stuck at some moment, at some point, right? And that is the point when you need to invert in education. So yeah, I think that was the very beginning. After that, I decided to go to Europe, go to Venice, study there an architectural visualization master course, and that was basically the beginning, 6 years ago. Yeah.
Okay, so basically you've been doing this for a very long time.
Yes. Very long.
At the moment, are you still working on your own, or do you work with other people?
I work with on my own, but I outsourcing some service like modeling and rendering. But most of the time, I like to be like the art director. I like to be in charge of lighting and post-production because that is the things that I really like to apply in architectural visualization projects.
But you mentioned me before that now you're taking a little bit of separation from client work and you're trying to do more teaching. Because I know that you started this project of teaching, which is actually going pretty well, right?
Yeah, actually I started teaching 4 years ago or 3.5 years ago, and I started to enjoy even more, rather than deal with clients and stuff like that. I really love to teach.
Impossible deadlines.
Yeah, of course, and it is less stressful indeed,
Yeah, of course, and it's I think that some people really feed, so to say, on that kind of stress. They like being under stress and they like to communicate and deal with clients. And there are some people that after doing it for a while, they try to find a way to keep on doing the stuff that they want and being still influential in the field. And I think at the moment you're doing a great job because I hear a lot of good things about your teaching.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna put some pictures of your work on the screen whilst recording, so that people can realize who they are listening to.
Okay.
And I remember we were supposed to talk at one point about your project, the Meteora project, you remember?
Oh yeah, yeah, sure, yeah.
But we never got to it because at that time I was preparing the D2 conference, we were very busy,
Yeah,
and you just launched this project, so you know, it never really went anywhere.
yeah,
But
everything was like a coincidence in terms of time. Yeah, yeah, I
yeah, and
just
I
remember.
apologize. Yeah, man, it's
No,
not
it's
like I
okay.
don't care. You know, we're doing this because I want to know more about this project. Because some of the details in this work, they're just stunning. You know, like all the trees, the branches. Is it like photogrammetry or?
Actually, that 3D models belongs to Megascan library
Okay, okay.
from Quetzal. Yeah.
So you use a lot of this stuff.
Yes, yes, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. I use. You know, as long as I remember, these idea, was very hard to achieve. The majority of the time, that is the real struggle. Trying to build the concept, something that can be solid enough in order to spend a lot of time on it. I think the project Meteora, it is really unique because you never seen something like that before. The project is really unique, and the challenge was trying to create a unique mood slash composition slash atmosphere for every single image. That was the challenge, and yeah, I think at the end I was very very happy with the result. It was a very stressful project because the deadline. Um, Actually, Ronan asked me for this project like 2 months with a deadline like almost like 2 months, and I finished everything like 1 week before the deadline because I changed my mind. I was changing my mind every single time, because I wasn't sure about if the concept is going to be good enough. The idea about trying to create a showcase for vegetation, it is really hard because the idea was use the vegetation as the main subject, not like everybody else does, put the vegetation to fill empty spaces or whatever. It was very 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 hard. I just remember the first idea was trying to create something like a cliff with a massive vegetation, kind of futuristic architecture at the top. But of course, that idea was a little bit, pretty much the same. And I always like to innovate. To be honest. I always like to do something that you have never seen before. I think that could be a very sexy approach. I think, yeah.
If successful, of course.
Of course, yeah. I mean, in technical aspect, Corona helped me a lot because it's so friendly that allows you to completely forget about the technical aspect, and you can spend a lot of time in the artistic side of the project. You don't care about settings, you don't care about anything, you just the pure concept. You have to create a pure concept and you have to build the correct idea. It's a little bit tricky. It's a little bit tricky if you don't have a very strong concept, you can still using any kind of rendering engine, and the result every single time is going to be, I don't know, like an average result. I think the secret, if you want to know, is just the approach, the concept, the idea. There is no secret tool that is going to improve your work, and put a lot of emphasis in other subjects like photography, like interior design, colorimetry, study of the color and stuff like that. Is going to help you a lot to improve because that kind of knowledge is already there, but people don't see. They believe that the software is like a magic tool and is going to do the miracle by itself, but that is absolutely wrong. That is the kind of philosophy that I like to teach to my students. I think 50%, is part of the quality, and of course that depends on the software and how good you are going to use the tools. But the other 50% is one of the most important things. It is the concept. It is the idea, how to develop. Of course, if you can achieve like 50 and 50. Of course, there is no way to fail. I mean, in theory, right? There is no way to fail.
No. I understand what you're saying. This is also one of the reasons why I think that in a way, architectural images will never really die in terms
Yeah,
of
exactly.
like marketing tools. Of course, we are going to be able to produce them faster in a way,
Yeah, yeah,
although,
yeah.
you know, the human interaction between the designer and the client will never be faster because, you know, clients will still take
Yeah.
time to make decisions, the designer will still need time to come up with the idea. But of course, some of the technical aspects will get faster. But, you know, the art direction, this is something that the software cannot give you. Unless, of course, we get to program some sort of artificial intelligence that does that kind of stuff
Yeah,
and
exactly.
can give you,
Yeah.
you know, like 100 different results in a minute.
Yeah, one
But
click. Yeah.
then you will be left as a human to have to make a decision between 100 pictures. It's just a mess. I think that, you know,
Yeah.
it's this kind of thing, it's going to stay the way it is. You personally, are you looking into any augmented reality, VR, this kind of stuff, or?
Not really. I'm trying to keep, the classic approach. I really love still image. I think that I have to learn even more if I want to do the jump to animation or VR, something like that. Of course, I'm going to try. I think eventually I'm going to try. But at the moment, I think that I need to learn even more about how to tell a story just using a still image. That is a huge challenge. But every single time, I really love the struggle.
No, I agree 100%. I try to make a video on how to tell stories. Although, you know, people say that it was a very good video, I still don't think I managed to tell a story 100%. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's I totally agree with you. And now let me ask you a little bit about your teaching
Yeah,
process.
sure.
How do you approach the teaching? Because I know that now this is something that you're very interested in, you're doing a lot, and people
Yeah.
probably know you even more because of the teaching that you do. So tell me a little bit more about the way you approach this.
Sure. Actually, right now I have like two trainings. One is post-production training for architectural association, and the other one it is Corona. I'm going to start with the post-production one. I think post-production is a very, very important part inside the process. And the majority of the, I don't know, the visualizers or maybe the beginners think that, post-production just is about to create fancy things, fancy effects, inside the image. And, but it's something even more than that, There is something more subjective inside the color. For example, in the color correction part of the process, you can express your ideas. Of course, everything has to be related with reality. Of course, that is 100% the idea. But most of that, there is something subjective that you always express, and you can express in a more easy way. I'm talking about the technical aspect, of course, in post-production. I just read this book, the Alex Roman book, The Third and Seven.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, and he says at one point there are two kind of different approaches in post-production. The first one, it is like the color correction that the image needs. And the second one is your personal approach. How you feel the colors, how you see the light, how you feel the exposure. But you cannot teach that, but you can explain it. You can try to teach the philosophy, because take the wrong decisions at that point. It is very easy to do, or trying to overdo in post-production, is something that happens a lot. So I think the approach that I like to do in my trainings, it is first trying to teach the philosophy, trying to introduce a proper and solid approach. After that, the students realize that the technical aspect, the proper use of the tools, it is easier. Okay, but they need to understand how it works the real world, just in order to replicate or emulate inside post-production part. It is the same with Corona. Basically, the Corona training that I have is dedicated to lighting. I just realized that, you can buy 3D models, you can buy interiors, architecture, like rooms, living rooms, and stuff like that. But you're never going to try to buy a lighting setup. Never. You know, you have to develop something, and I think it has a lot of sense. You know, if designers design furniture, architects design architecture, why not you cannot design a lighting concept? You know, it has a lot of sense, and that is the strong part of the training. I'm going to teach you how to design a lighting concept, and that is completely different. You know, that's of course that's completely different. And Corona is really nice because it allows you to play a lot with this volume material in order to create amazing atmospheres, no matter if it's interior or exterior. You know, and start to play with atmosphere was something that I started to do like I don't know, like 4 or 5 years ago, and I faked everything post-production because at that moment trying to use, I don't know, V-Ray plus brute force plus V-Ray fog was crazy in terms of rendering time. But right now with Corona, I think it's a little bit more friendly, it's a little bit more faster, and actually the results are pretty much amazing. You know, when you start to introduce these as atmospheric effect inside your projects. We're going to check everything. For example, in Corona, we're going to check everything about lighting for exterior, interior, how to create close-ups. I think that is very important. A lot of composition stuff. As well, try to understand that, for example, in an interior, the color can change completely, you know, shadows, highlights, you know. That is the kind of very useful approach that I like to give to my students during the training. In post-production, we're going to study, for example, color correction, for example, the illustrative style that is very, very, I don't know, very important for contests, you know, how to do photographic approach, when and how apply these errors like chromatic aberration, vignetting, and try to blend it in a way that, of course, they are not going to look like, you know, like errors, you know. You can control a lot of things if you know how to use this kind of very common, I think, effects, you know, as well how to play with blending modes, you know, and so on.
Also,
it's a very,
I think understanding what you're looking at, it then helps you a lot.
Every single time, you know, every single time I base my work using reference. That is a very important part. Of course, it has a lot of sense. If you want to recreate something that looks like in real life or looks like a picture, of course, you have to try to find the right reference in order to follow the reference.
I know you use a lot of references, like from Netflix, from I see you very often like referencing that kind of stuff.
Yes.
I do the same, so you know, I think it's anything in particular that you think it's actually really good in terms of giving reference to people.
I think that a lot of websites can offer you whatever you want. I think I cannot tell you which kind of reference do you have to collect. In my personal opinion, as a personal example, I like to collect, for example, reference from interior design, architectural photography, of course, movies. I love the color. I love how, you know, these awesome artists, they know how to manage with the colors. I like to collect reference from map painting as well. You know, video games, why not? You know, everything that can inspire you, I think it is a good, you know, material as a reference, right? No matter which kind of things would you like to collect.
No, this is all very interesting, and I want to ask you something a little bit less, you know, relevant, maybe, but probably it is relevant. I know that you do a lot of running.
Oh, yes. I like to do trail running, yeah.
But I also noticed, I mean, from what I can perceive from your social media life, that there was some sort of like professional growth going together with doing more sports, being more active, you know, physically. Am I totally wrong, or do I see some sort of connection?
Yes, actually, yes. I try to keep, you know, like a balance between my professional life and my personal life. And of course, you know, at the moment that I start to take, I don't know, like more risk in the architectural visualization field and try to do crazy things, trying to do crazy approach. But most of the time people love it. I start to do the same thing and you know, in the sports field. I like to run. I like to go to the mountains. I like to feel relaxed, and of course, it is like a like a good habit because that is going to allow you to release a lot of stress. Yeah, that is why I love. You know, I think this year I'm pretty sure I'm going to try to run my first ultra. So ultra is more than 40 kilometers. So I think I'm pretty sure I'm going to go for my first one. I know that's going to be very painful and it's going to be a huge challenge, but
This
I
is
think I'm going to do it
impressive.
pretty well. Yeah.
This is impressive because usually what the tendency is that the better the 3D artist gets, the fatter he gets, you know, and the less
Yes.
fit. And
Yes. Yes.
there was a period of my life about a year ago where I really focused on being very sporty and doing sports. And then the moment and I saw also improving a lot from a professional point of view. But then when the work started to be more and more and projects were coming in and commissions and all that kind of stuff, uh, then I was all of a sudden doing more work, less sports, and then I started to become unhealthy again.
Yes.
And
Yes.
now I'm trying
It is
to.
hard.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it
is.
is hard for sure. It is hard trying to keep this balance, you know. It is really, really hard because you have to be very responsive in both areas. And that takes a lot of time. Try to, you know, get out of your comfort zone and you know that some days you have to work, you know, until very late. But of course you have to train. But I think it's just, you know, a way to convert this, as I told before, as in a good habit, you know.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's good habits. This is the perfect way to put it. You know,
Yeah.
I always read like this year one of the resolutions for 2018 is to read one book every day,
Oh,
and
that's a lot.
I'm doing it.
Oh, that's great.
I'm cheating a little bit because I'm using an app that allows you to read extracts of a book.
Hmm.
But you know, in a way, if you work with say educational books, usually what you get out of a book is, you know, very little concepts that help you understanding a little bit better how successful people do certain things, how more productive people do certain things. And what I'm trying to do with my own YouTube videos is to compress these ideas related to being an artist and put them online so that people don't have to go through listening to an audiobook every
Yes.
day, you know?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
And I think that what you're doing is the way you said it, the way you described it, really shows that, you know, the stuff that people say in these books are real. You have to develop good habits, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sometimes when
It is
people,
hard. At the beginning it's hard, pretty hard, you
for
know, because
sure, for sure.
you're going to fail several times. You know, that's why, you know, I saw your last video that you failed. Yeah, that is a pretty common thing. You know, you're not going to get anywhere before to fail a couple of times, or maybe even more. But of course, that is the idea. That is going to help you to grow a lot, I think.
No,
And that is,
and it's good, you know. I think that we should encourage people to try and fail.
yes, of course, that is the idea. Yeah, actually, it is the same. You know, when I finish my trainings, I always tell to my students, you know, we are not going to be able to see an before and after right now. First you have to fail. You have to fail a lot. After that, you have to feel comfortable with the workload that already I'm teaching you. And after that, we're going to see like a true change, a true before and after in the quality and approach in your image, you know. And that is the truth. I cannot offer you like a miracle, you know, that you're going to do awesome image in a very short amount of time, because that depends on you. You know how much time you're going to spend in these. You know, if you're going to put a lot of passion on it, yeah, basically it depends on you. But at the
Now,
end, you know, I just had an amazing result from great people that are creating awesome stuff. You know, one of my ex-students, for example, he won the Ronald Reckerman contest the last year, and now I think he's
which
actually
student?
working in tomorrow. I think his name was Mohit.
Ah,
I
yeah,
cannot
yeah, yeah.
remember the last name. Yeah.
He's Indian, if I don't mistake,
Yes, and now he's working at tomorrow.
in
Um,
Sweden.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
And
a very talented guy, and he's so young.
yeah, yeah. From the very beginning, I was very you know, his homework, because I always send homework to my students, you know. And when we reach the end of the training, you know, like I don't know, like 2 or 3 weeks after that, he told me, "Okay, Santi, I'm going to, you know, participate in this contest, and I would like to show you my image." I said, "Okay, go for it." When he sent me, I was, "Oh my God, you know, you have a great chance to win this thing, because this is absolutely an amazing set of images." And he told me something, "Really, really?" And I said, "Yes, yes. You have to feel self-confidence about your work, because it is really good." And guess what? You know, he won. He was one of the winners, and yeah, I was so happy about him. You know.
This also gives you credibility for the work that you do, you know?
Yeah, but actually, to be honest, it's not my work. You know, as I told before, my job as a mentor or as a teacher is trying to find your inner artist. You know, and I'm not the kind of person that I like to take the credit that doesn't belong to me, right? Because I experienced that. You know, I experienced that in the past. You know, I knew people that take the credits for something that I create, and that is very annoying. And I'm not that kind of person. You know, I just show him my philosophy. Whatever he wants to do with my philosophy is his work. It's, you know, it's his pure work.
That's beautiful. You're very humble, and I'm really happy to hear that, I have to say.
Yeah, and you know, that is my job. You know, that is part of my job. When my students realize that every single image has a lot of potential, you know, it's just a way to open your mind and see this approach that I'm offering you. You know, everything will start to change. You know, they are not going to see, you know, the workflow, the old workflow in the same way. You know, but of course, as I told you before, it takes a little bit of time trying to get used to this new workflow, but at the end, believe me, I think it's going to help you a lot to improve your approach.
Projects for the future?
Project, well, right now I'm living in the capital here in Ecuador. I'm living in Quito with my wife. My wife is studying medicine postgrad here. That was the reason why we're living here. And with a friend of mine, good friend of mine, we're going to open ArchViz training center soon. Okay, I'm not going to tell you the spoilers. Okay, I want to keep the hype a little bit, but we're going to try to create something that I think it is necessary here in the country. It's going to be the first, you know, huge training center dedicated entirely to architectural visualization. We're going to offer a lot of service like, you know, trainings about modeling, shading, lighting, and of course, rendering, post-production, and stuff like that. We're going to have, you know, a very flexible schedules. We are going to have flexible content, you know, interior, exteriors, product, crazy concept, you know, how to develop your crazy idea, how to take it to the next level. Basically, that is the huge project that is coming soon.
Maybe you should also think of like organizing some English classes, and maybe some people will fly in, you know, to do the course.
Yeah, we're going to create something like international workshops. Yeah, and I think that could be a good chance to meet other people that, you know, around South America, because I think there is not like a training center here in South America. I haven't heard about that, so I think we're going to be the first one for sure. We're going to be the first one. Yeah.
And it will be Corona based.
Yes. I mean, we're going to be flexible, of course. We're going to use Corona, we're going to use V-Ray, you know, several software. I don't know, SketchUp, of course, 3ds Max, Photoshop, and stuff like that. But of course, it's going to be dedicated for Corona mostly, yeah.
How long did it take you to learn Corona? I'm asking this just because, you know, a lot of the people that I've interviewed lately, they are all making the switch to Corona. So, you know, be interesting to know what you think as a team.
Because it's very similar to V-Ray. It's very similar. I think the core, it is very similar. Of course, the things you're going to see different is the names, right, and the material and stuff like that. I think it's going to take like, I don't know, like a couple of months, to be honest, because you have to know the tools, but you can keep using the same approach that you're using in V-Ray, Octane, Fstorm, or any other render engine that you like to use. So, and that is very important as well, because the kind of approach and philosophy that I'm offering in my trainings, you can apply at any render engine, and every single time it's going to work. Okay? I can tell you for sure, maybe it could be like 3 months, try to understand how it works, the Corona render engine, how to, start to learn how is for example, in V-Ray is called V-Ray Dirt, I guess, and Corona is called Corona ambient occlusion, something like that, but basically it is the same. I don't know, like 2 or 3 months, and that is going to be enough. After that, of course, you have to start to do experiments and trial and error until you start to feel comfortable with the workflow. Yeah.
Dude, we are already above the 30 minutes mark. I'm going to ask you one more thing.
Yeah, sure.
Because I ask this everybody. Somebody young that is trying to get into the profession and wants to do this job, if you could give them a piece of advice, what would that be?
Well, that is a very good question. I think start study photography first. That is one of the. Try to study photography, try to study art, try to see a lot of movies, try to collect cool reference about everything that it is inspiring, and do crazy stuff and try to innovate. That is my best advice.
Okay, good enough. Good enough. Santi, I don't want to steal any more of your time. I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
No, thank you. I had a great time.
It's an honor for me to have you on the show. I'm going to stop the recording for now. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to say goodbye in a second. If you want to say goodbye, this is the time.
Okay. Goodbye.
Thanks.